The state of Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord's multiplayer, as of now, according to my opinion. Quickly before I get into the video, make sure you check the links out in the description to go into Aniba Games. You can get some great deals on pretty much any game. I mean, Kingdom Come Delivered to £17 and it's like 40 quid on Steam, so it's sort of a no-brainer. All the Total War games, pretty much any Steam games, but not even just Steam games. Any platform, Xbox, PS4, whatever. You can click the links in the description and support the channel. I mean, Mount & Blade, the full collection is like £3 and that's got everything in, so I mean, you might as well. Make sure you go and use code RESONANT to get a 3% discount. Links in the description, and if you register now, which you don't have to, but you can, you also get another euro off it. So that's something you can do if you have the time and want to support the channel. This was a post put up on the Tailwoods forums by Vidhar. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. I'm a dumb Englishman and I don't really know anything. Now, this is a really great post. I read through it and I thought that most of these criticisms are very fair, and I do think it's important for feedback to the developers. So I thought, and I hope you don't mind if the author of this thread is watching, that we can actually bring this forward and make it more aware to more people. Because at the end of the day, whilst Tailwoods are bringing out the beta, they're bringing it out for feedback. Now, the email I got was not from the guy that actually wrote this thread. It was some little kid who was very obnoxious and said, "It's our game, we should get a say, blah, 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 blah." And whilst he almost put me off actually reading the thread with his very privileged point of view, I decided I'd click on it anyway, and I was greeted with an actual very fair response to how the beta is going at the moment. And yes, it is still in beta. There's so many things that can change, but as I said, the beta is here in order to give feedback, so I thought, why not take this and put it into a more condensed form factor, some of the more important points, so maybe the developers might actually see this, but there will be a link in the description to the original thread if you guys want to go and check it out in full. Now, a lot of these things I really agree with, especially the positive points. The graphics, they do look absolutely gorgeous. It is done so well, and whilst it's not a AAA game, it's never been a AAA game, so you shouldn't expect graphics from a AAA game. Animations, captain mode, all done really well. The performance, he does make a point on this. I don't really think the performance is that great at the moment. I'm getting about 60-70 FPS on a 1080 Ti, which is pretty abysmal for this sort of game, but that is something that can easily be improved, and that will be improved. That's not sort of a content that we already know is in. That's something that can be tweaked as time goes on. But what are the problems, and what's the main feedback that a lot of the community want to know about? Because yes, whilst this is one guy posting on a forum, the reason I wanted to make a video on it is because looking at the responses, it seems that this is a very, very mutual feeling with a lot of players of the beta at the moment. And the main point of this thread actually is an incredibly good point. It says this: "From what I've seen and from what I've played, it seems Tailwoods does not know or understand what made Warband's multiplayer fun and what the community actually wanted, as there are many changes that I just cannot explain. I have a feeling that Tailwoods was mostly in contact with the competitive scene, which of course is very tiny, and therefore implemented systems to make the game feel more familiar to new players who come from the ever-growing range of competitive FPSs. And I couldn't agree more with this. And knowing some history of Tailwoods in the Battle of Bucharest, that was all set up from people inside the esports of Mount & Blade. And whilst it's great fun to watch, and whilst yes, there should be an esports community in Bannerlord, Tailwoods, it is the smallest part of Mount & Blade's community. Mount & Blade has never been an esports game. And should it be there? Of course it should. It's a game that can have so many different things, but it's such a small part, and I do feel like Bannerlord is orientating itself towards esports. Having multiplayer where you have these set classes, whilst there's some customization in them, it's not what Warband was. Being able to go on with just your mates and have these weird and wacky customizations, going in naked with greatswords and things, that's what made Mount & Blade funny, because you always knew when you saw someone with a greatsword and they were naked, they thought they were pretty good. I mean, some people would run away, or some people would be like, I can take him on, I can show him who actually is good, and you'd end up dying anyway, because people are like that. And it just added to the fun, and it was great to mix and match different things, and whilst I do think the idea of having these set classes is an alright idea, and it worked well in Napoleonic Wars, it worked well in Napoleonic Wars is because of the setting of that game. People were in uniforms to identify themselves, and Napoleonic Wars, at the end of the day, you gotta remember, was a lot less casual than Warband. Napoleonic Wars was made because of clans. It was made because clans were making line battles in the Mountain Musket mod, meaning that most of the battles and most of the people playing in Napoleonic Wars were in regiments and clans. It wasn't as casual as Warband, hence the uniforms, the classes, and everything everything that went with it. The forum post explains that they've destroyed the character that Warband has, and the character that made a fun multiplayer experience. Warband is so fun because you can join your favourite server, meet people there that you have played with before, and most importantly, those players all have their own identity. And this is probably one of the main and biggest problems with Bannerlord at the moment and the direction the multiplayer looks to be going. Whilst yes, it is great fun and what they're doing is amazing, it's not unique anymore. It's gone away from what made Warband unique, and I think that's the thing that will make it survive and the reason that Warband is still alive to this day. Should there be the option to have these classes? Yes, I do think it is an important part of the game, and especially while Tailwords is trying to get in new players because Bannerlord is such a bigger game than Warband was. There's going to be so many new people in it and they're trying to make it accessible to as many people as possible. But in doing so, they're alienating what actually made it unique compared to other games. What's the solution around this? Well, you could have multiple servers, you could choose between doing that thing. That's probably not the most efficient way of doing it. Or in each multiplayer battle that you join, you can go in and you can click one or two buttons. You can either select a pre-made class as we have at the moment, or have another one where you can go in and make a completely custom class with these different things that you can pick and choose throughout the game, where you get more money and more kills and you can get better weapons and better armor, a lot like there was in Warband, having the best of both worlds. But unfortunately I don't really see that happening because it feels like it's a little bit too late in development at the moment for them to change such a massive thing. We'll only be able to tell how effective or ineffective this new method of multiplayer class picking is once Bannerlord is fully released. And whilst you can't make final endgame judgments at the moment because it's still in beta, this is something that has worried a lot of people. But what about the combat? Well, personally, I do quite like the combat in Mount and Blade 2 Bannerlord. It's fun, it's great, and I've said that in streams and I really do think it is a lot of fun to play with. Is it as good as Warband? Most people, according to the post, are actually agreeing that it's not as good as Warband. They think there's a lot of swing lag and things, and I can see that. But playing it a lot, I've sort of got used to how that works. But it is quite different. Whilst I do enjoy it, I don't quite think it's the same as Warband. And I do think Warband's combat is amazing. And I did love it. And I got used to just how it worked. And I do think probably Warband's combat is a little bit better. But at the same time, I think it's more of a difference than what is better or worse. And at the end of the day, whilst this is a really important point that they need to get this combat right, making it different isn't necessarily wrong. Because any which way it is, when you play it for long enough, you'll get used to it, and that could be the new combat that you know and love. It's only because people have played Warband for so many years that they're so used to that specific style and that specific feel that that is what they're stuck with. But if Bannerlord continues with this new combat style, but keeping it kind of similar to Warband, but with a few nuts and bolts tightened up on the edges, such as the swing lag and things, maybe people will get used to it in the end. But once again, it's only something we can see once the full game is out. Now, if we're going to look into feedback, what are some of the shorter term things that Tailwords can take and look into before the full game comes out? Well, some easy things that can be looked into are charging AI. When you're charging AI in the captain mode, they tend to just run off to the other side of the map to attack some enemies. They need to be neatened up a little bit, and sort of their targeting needs to be sorted up a little bit. Now, the swing delay, as I said, this is something that everyone seems to want to be removed. Whether they keep the combat a little bit different to Warband and just advance it and change it, that's something we're going to have to find out if we get used to. But this swing delay does seem to be causing a lot of problems for people. Personally, I don't see too much of an issue, and I haven't had too many issues, but a lot of people do tend to agree with this point. Talking about easy fixes, shield bashing and kicking are pretty much useless. The stagger should be slightly longer. The command system is nice, but it's not intuitive. The face command system is just weird and hard to use, and it also needs more commands like weapon options. Furthermore, talking about AI, infantry AI don't seem to know quite what to do against cavalry. They tend to use their spears or attack too slow, and also the post refers to the AI not really knowing how throwing weapons work. And whilst these things I think are the things that beta is for, improve the game for Tailwords for when it actually releases, these things are things that can actually be fixed. But unfortunately, guys, that you're reading this post, the actual whole problem with the multiplayer with the class system, I have a feeling that that's not going to change. That's such a big thing that unfortunately I do feel, at least on my opinion, and it seems like opinions of a lot of people on this post, that is a little bit of a misstep from Tailwords. The fact that they are focused on balancing it to be an esports game, when really the multiplayer has never been an esports game. They balanced it to cater too much towards new players, when really Warband and Mount & Blade has always just been there, and people have learned how to play it, and people have loved it, and it's proven because it's still active to this day. And anyone that is listening to this, I do think it's important to notice that this is not our game. This email that was sent to me, this guy insisting that it was our game and it was our right to get things changed, you're wrong. It is a very selfish way of looking at it. Look at it from a different direction. Look at it from, this is Tailward's game. This is what they're making. But we can give feedback and they can choose to listen or not listen. But at the end of the day, that is their decision. We are not entitled to force anything upon the changes of this game. All we can do is post like vidha and videos like this, giving some constructive feedback to the developers instead of just issuing our commands and expecting them to do it. So the guy that sent me the email, if you're watching this, that is 100% the wrong way to go about it. It's not our game. He is the example that it's like supporters are part of the football team. No, they're not. The football team and the supporters are as different as possible. The team themselves try and distance themselves from the supporters because whilst they appreciate them being there, they have no say in how the team is run. A bit like this YouTube channel. I appreciate my subscribers and I appreciate everything you do. But at the end of the day, how the channel is run is my decision, and you can either watch it or don't watch it. And the same with this game. You can either play it or you don't play it. But feedback and constructive criticism is always welcome for the developers. But if it doesn't change, that is their decision and not your right. And I think it is important to remember that when giving feedback to developers of any game and not just Tailward. But I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you click the link in the description to the original post. And Vidha, sorry if I pronounced your name wrong this whole video, but you made a very, very well thought out and intelligent post. And I really hope Tailward see it and it can make some changes in the game for months to come. But thank you so much for watching, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it. And until then, I will see you in the next one.